I had to leave Linden when we had the riots. I had to graduate from East High School in 1972. So you're older than I am. But even at a funeral, I guess you get a minute. So my concern is this meeting right here should be being held at the White House. In my mind, all the prophecies I've given you were true. You should be the President of the United States. I asked you that in 2012 when you had a roundhouse meeting at the Urban League after you helped us with the Ebola. You can help us get to church with for the Ebola and the Doctors Without Borders. I came in late. You said, Ashe, sit right here. And let Ashe talk to the next second. Bishop Ross was there. All the old bishops, a lot of them retired now were there. And I said, sure. I looked at you and said, I only got one question. When are you going to run for President of the United States? And you laughed, and so I said, sure. I said, I don't laugh when I'm not tickled. I will scratch while I don't itch. When you knew I was serious, then you began to answer it, told everybody that you just wanted to be senator and da-da-da-da. I followed up with that for many years. When you were over at the Point of Pride across the street, Hillary was when I asked you again. I pulled you aside, when are you going to run for president? You said, well, Hillary will make a good president. I said, sure, Hillary will never be president. And she wasn't. Trump won. And then followed up with that again. And then finally at the Firemen's Union Hall, when you told the baseball story, you said, I'm not running for president. Anyway, long story short. Thank you. Long story short. You're here in South Linden. Everything I've told you that would happen. If Hillary, a white woman, couldn't win, why did we expect a black woman to win? And I talked to Joyce Beatty, my congresswoman. I asked her to call. I spoke in the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. I said, let's have a march to the Supreme Court, to the Federal Reserve Building, and all the stuff that they're doing now. I asked them 8 years ago to start doing. They wouldn't do it. So my thing at this point is, if there's going to be an election, a presidential election in 28, there's not a martial law. I don't even know if there's going to be a midterm next year. So, I hope you didn't think this would be a cakewalk. Come give us a chicken dinner and we all be happy. But I'm very dissatisfied. Because I'm looking at the president that's in the office now. 65,000 people incarcerated. ICE is like the Gestapo. You've got all this crazy stuff going on, cutting all the benefits. Killing all the cultural stuff, all the crazy stuff that this man in the White House is doing. And here in our community, here in South Linden, I had like 500 kids that could have done some canvassing. But I couldn't get through your gatekeepers, not these ones here, but the ones you had. I couldn't get through your gatekeepers to get the kids employed to go knock on doors and get people registered to vote. But yet, it was the greatest spending amount of money in any Senate race in history. And we couldn't get nothing to trickle down in our little community. So what the brothers have said about, the community and the funding and all that, that's very true. I mean, you had a few canvases, but nothing major. I live right down the street at 1119 East 16th Avenue. I've got another prophecy for you, but you got to come to my house to get it. And I'm at this point where you can come, I'll serve you dinner. You don't have to bring your age, but there's something else that the Lord wants you to hear. But that's what I've been right every time. I've never been wrong because I heard it from heaven through the Holy Spirit and I told you about it. I talked to Elizabeth. You did make an exploratory campaign for president back in the day. You didn't do it. Elizabeth said you had some family issues. The man in the White House got 34 felonies. A whole lot of family issues. But I'm at the point now, if you're a regular person like me, you're not senator anymore, you're just a citizen. But I would like to see you back in. I would like to see you back in 26. I really would. And I'd like to help you. But I need to tell you some things personally. I've held your grandchildren on my arm. I know you personally. We've known each other for years. So I guess that's my statement. I really don't have a question. I've got to go. But I would like to say just one thing to you, and maybe you can answer this. When you get some more money and funding, would you please try to get some down here to the kids in South Linden? Can you try and do some of that? That's all I'm saying.
We didn't do enough grassroots efforts in that campaign. There was more money spent against me than any race in history. We had a lot of money too. They had more, and we didn't put enough into grassroots. And that starts to time. It's my year, and we'll do better. Thank you. And that president stuff, it seemed like a rational guy. So I don't know about that.
And somebody said there was a
secret ballot in the US Senate, who should be the next president, and secret ballot is 100-way tie for first. So, a lot of my colleagues think they should. I just didn't have, your ambition has to be huge to do it. I just didn't have that ambition with kids and grandkids coming and all that. Thank you for saying that.